Hello guys, welcome to my tabletop tutor channel. Today we'll be looking at the logistic regression. So what is logistic regression? Logistic regression is basically a classification algorithm, and in that target variables are basically 0 or 1, yes or no, or if let's say we have to predict whether the rain is going to fall or not, or whether we have to give loan or not. So basically all sorts of classification problems come under logistic regression. Now these classification problems are also called as binary problems or dichotomous problems. Okay, now, can we have multi-class classifications in our logistic regression? Yes or no? So that is one important thing. The answer to this question I'll give you afterwards, but first let us understand that it is a binary classification problem. That is 0 means not happening, 1 means happening. Now, why it is called regression despite we are doing classification in this problem? Okay, so here let us say I have drawn a graph. Okay, and here graph shows a line that is intersected at the y-intercept, which is basically negative, and it extends all the way upward. Okay, so this is a regression line. Okay, regression line. Now this regression line I have separated, I have marked here values 0 and 1. Now 0 and 1, why I have marked? Because this implies that there is a classification going on, a regression line with 0 and 1, and the 0 and 1 implies that classification is going on. Now how will I classify? I'll first of all cut the extra line that is present, because since we are doing classification I have to cut this regression line which is extending, and I am cutting it from this part and this part. Now we have a classification problem. Now in order to classify it, I have drawn one line, horizontal line, and this line is called as a decision boundary. Now whatever lies below this decision boundary will classify it into 0 subset, and whatever lies above that will be classified in 1 subset. Okay, so we are clipping the output, and we have restricted the decision class by drawing a line in a center and showing clipping. Okay, now why we are clipping it? Because range of y is from minus infinity to plus infinity. By clipping we have ensured that the range of my y is from 0 to 1. Okay, so now how will we do it? Okay, how will we do it? So basically the range of the values y is always from minus infinity to plus infinity. So we need a function that classifies this range of values that are from minus infinity to plus infinity to 0 and 1, and this will be done by our sigmoid function. Now sigmoid function is given by 1 plus e to the power minus y. So now let us understand how the ranges are getting converted to 0 and 1. So let us say if I place y equals minus infinity, so 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus infinity, so that is minus minus becomes plus, so 1 by 1 plus infinity, and 1 by infinity is 0. So this is for y equals minus infinity. Now let us say if y is infinity, so 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus infinity, e to the power minus infinity is 0, so 1 by 1 plus 0, that is 1 by 1 1. So thus our values which are from the range minus infinity to plus infinity are getting converted to 0 and 1. So this is basically the logic of sigmoid function, to convert the values which are of y from minus infinity to plus infinity to 0 and 1. Now moving on towards the next page. This is how sigmoid function looks. Sigmoid function is also called as logit functions or log-add function. Okay. Now logistic regression does binary classification. Now can we do multi-class classification as we had asked? So yes, how will we do it? We'll consider one class, that whether it belongs to one class or not a class of A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so that is like one versus all approach. So let us say we have 5 classes A, B, C, D, E. I'll either consider it whether it belongs to class A or whether it belongs to class B, C, D, E. That is not class of A. So that's one way. So now after classifying it into class A, and we are having two we are having here not class, that is it does not belong to class B, C, D, E. Now if I have to find out whether it belongs to class B, again I'll do further classification over here, whether it belongs to class B or whether it does not belong to class C, D, E. Similarly class C and class C, D. It's one versus all approach. You consider one class and rest of the other things in all other classes. Now take one class from the rest of all other classes and again go on dividing further and further. So in that way logistic regression helps us in doing multi-class regression, multi-classification. Okay, now what will be the evaluation matrix for this logistic regression? So evaluation matrix, as we know, these are common for all methods, that is R square, adjusted R square, RMSE, mean square error, and mean absolute error. Here we'll be plotting confusion matrix, and this confusion matrix is eventually related to your hypothesis testing. So what does confusion matrix comprises with? Confusion matrix comprises with 4 values, that is true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. So what is true positive? True positive means actually it is predicted positive, it is predicted positive, and actually also it is positive. So that is true positive. What is true negative? Actually it is negative, and also prediction is also negative. So that is true negative. What is false positive? Prediction is positive, but actually it's negative. That is false positive. And what is false negative? False negative is basically predicted as negative, but actually it's positive. Okay, so here is the confusion matrix which we have given over here. So here you can see that 18 values which are there that are predicted as positive, and actually also they are predicted as positive. So that is our true positive case, and true negative case is over here, where you can see that prediction is negative and actually is also is negative. So this and this intersection, so that is 12 values which are there, that basically comes in true negative. Now predicted as negative but actual positive, so that is basically a false negative. So that comes under these two cases, and 3 cases which are there that are basically predicted as negative but predicted as positive but actually negative. So that's are my false positive case. So this is confusion matrix. Confusion matrix is basically true positive, false positive, true negative, false negative. True positive is basically, one more time we'll revise, true positive is basically prediction is also positive and actually also it's positive. Prediction and actual both positive, that comes in true positive. And similarly, if in case my prediction and actual case is negative, and that comes under true negative. Now what is false positive? Predicted as positive but actually it's negative. And what is false negative? Predicted as negative but actually it's positive. Okay, so moving on towards our next EA. So what is accuracy? These are certain things like accuracy, misclassification, precision, recall, and F1 score. So these are very easy terms. Accuracy is basically what is my total correct prediction. Total correct prediction is basically true positive plus true negative divided by all sorts of cases: true negative, true positive, false positive, and false negative. Okay, and 1 minus accuracy is basically my misclassification. Now coming on towards true positive rate. True positive rate is basically what are the actual number of predicted cases that are true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. Now why we are considered as false negative? False negative means was predicted as negative but actually it's positive. So that is total actual positive cases. Okay, so next is precision. Precision is basically your true positive by total predicted positive. Recall is basically true positive by total actual positive. So in case of precision, we are interested with our false positive cases, and in terms of recall, we are actually interested in terms of our false negative cases. Whenever false negative is of actual concern, we'll go for recall. Whenever false positive is of more concern, then we'll go for precision. So let us revise this one more time. So what is accuracy? Accuracy is basically total correct prediction by actual prediction. So total correct prediction is true positive plus true negative, and true positive plus true negative plus false positive plus false negative. So that is my actual prediction. 1 minus accuracy is my misclassification. Now we looked at true positive rate, false positive rate. True positive rate is basically true positive by total actual positive, and false positive is basically false positive by total actual negative. Then next is precision. Precision is given to us by true positive by total predicted positive. So what is true positive? True positive will be given me as true positive divided by true positive plus total predicted positive. So that is basically my false positive. Okay, and what is recall? Total positive by total actual positive. So true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. So whenever my false positive is of actual concern, I'll go for precision. Whenever my false negative is of more concern, I'll go for recall. So these are certain concepts. Now let us move on towards one example. So let us say there are COVID cases, okay, and in COVID cases we have generally two options, that is positive and negative. So for doctors, which case will be of more concern? If in case, let us say the case is false positive. False positive means what? Predicted positive but actually negative. So since he is predicted positive, what he will do? He will take hydroxychloroquine tablets, or either he'll take vaccine. and nothing will happen. But if in case, let's say the case is false negative, what do you mean by false negative? False negative means what? The case is predicted as negative, okay, but actually it's positive, so he'll be like a super spreader. So for doctors, false negative is of more concern, and whenever false negative is of more concern, we go for recall over here. Now next is combined one. Combined one is basically called as F1 score. F1 score is basically your harmonic mean of both precision and recall. Okay, so it is given by 2 by 1 precision plus 1 recall. Okay, so that is my F1 score, wherein we are trying to reduce all the wrong predicted values. Okay, then next is ROC. ROC is called as receiver operating characteristics, ROC, and AUC. AUC is basically area under the curve. If area under the curve is more, that means your TPR is more, that is true positive rate is more, and if it is less, then FPR is less. So what is ROC? ROC is a curve between your true positive rate and false positive rate, and this diagonal line is basically where your true positive rate and false positive rate are both equal. And if in case, let's say your ROC shows that your receiver operating characteristics are showing in this fashion, the graph is like square root of x, okay, similar to square root of x, so your true positive rate is more than false positive rate, that implies that your true positive rate is more than false positive rate. And if it is below, like this, like an sort of an exponential increase, that means your false positive rate is more than true positive rate. So this is all about logistic regression. Finally, we will summarize. In logistic regression, we looked at why we do regression in logistic, how clipping is done, basically from the values which are from minus infinity to plus infinity, they get converted to 0 and 1 using sigmoid function. So that is the function which is responsible for converting the values. Then we also looked at the case scenarios like true positive, that is confusion matrix estimation. So that is true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. Based on the confusion matrix, we also looked at our true positive rate, false positive rate. True positive rate is basically your true positive divided by actual positive cases. Then we looked at accuracy. Accuracy is basically true positive by true plus true negative divided by all sorts of cases. Misclassification is 1 minus accuracy. Okay, so this is misclassification which we had seen. Then true positive rate, false positive rate. Precision is when your false positive is of more importance. Recall is when your false negative is of more importance. And then we have F1 score and ROC. Okay, F1 score is basically harmonic mean of your precision and recall, and your ROC is basically a graph between true positive rate and false positive rate. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel if you like it. If you don't like it, then you can subscribe it in your free time. Thank you.